Hello there, well it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and today mainly we're concentrating more on the pattern for making slippers. We're going to make little booty slippers for an adult, and we're going to make them at size 6.5. Now I've looked up on the internet and found out that size 6.5 is 10.3 inches. So I've roughly drawn around my own foot, which is size 5-ish, really badly drawn. So I now know that if I extend the heel, I can draw round to get size 6.5. So I can get rid of the toes. I can give myself a little bit of breathing room around the toes as well. So I've now got my pattern. Now, I've got quite wide feet, and I'm going to stick with the wideness because it's slippers after all. So now I've got my sole of my feet, and that is probably the most important part of this jigsaw because of it's what everything evolves round. Now what I need to do is I need to transfer that information to my pattern paper, including hem allowance. So I've got some graph paper here, and I'm going to do it on the angle so I've got enough room, and then I can literally hold that in place, or I can even stick it down and I can give myself a hem allowance. Okay, now so that's the sole of the foot. I don't quite need it as wide as the bottom. I must have wiggled it. And then I'm going to need to do an insert in the foot as well. Now I can use that pattern, although technically I'd like that a bit smaller. So that's 2 of the measurements. Now we've discussed it before, but we're going to discuss it again. On your foot, it probably goes up about 2-3 inches. So if I take 1.5 inches out of there, but then draw around the angles of this, then I now know, and that'll pop up, what I've got left. So, next piece of paper. I need to go down to about there, and then I need to add 1.5 inches, and then I need to reclaim this fabric. So that now what's going to happen is it's going to pop up. Okay. Now, because there's now more of a stitching line on the outside, because it's larger, what's going to happen is we don't need so much at the ends. Okay. Now I'm going to add a bit to the end so that I've got my hem allowance, but I'm going to take a bit off the top so that it pops up but remains relatively straight. Okay, so I'm going to need 2 of those, and I'm going to need to cut them back to back, and that is just for 1 slipper. So to do 2 slippers, and it's easier to do 2 at the same time and cut them so that you've got your patterns right, I'm going to need 4. So now I have got my curb around the top, and I have got my foot, and I'm going to need a tube that's large enough for me to get my ankles through. So that's easy enough to work out, isn't it? What I can do is I can take a piece of paper. Now I can then fold around the edge so I can work out how long it needs to be. And technically, I need it to come up slightly for the curb of the uppy thing. And I can see that on this, I'm going to need to take this much fabric. Now, I could cut this out and turn it round and then get the angles precisely, but as I'm working with fleece, I can just say I'm going to need at least 4 inches. and I've got hemming allowance on this, so I don't need to add it to that line. And then I need a tube, which is going to be twice the length of that I just measured. So if we come round here, from the centre point, I've got my uppy thing, and it looks a lot more clearer on that. And then I can come round to the heel. But then I do need to add my hem allowance. So I've added another ½ inch on. Now, what I like to do with these booties is I like a fold over the top. And so one side, one of the types of fabric, I'm going to do slightly larger, and then the other one I'm going to do slightly smaller, so then I've got a ½ inch fold. Okay, so that's how I'm drawing the pattern. Yeah, it is a case of, I know the basic shape, so it does set me off quite easily. Now I'm going to tidy these up, and then I'm going to put them on Facebook, and they are going to be for size 6.5, which is size 40 in Europeans and size 8 in Americans. So, but if you want to check, then that's a 10 and a 0.3 of an inch. So you know, it is eating up the cloth when we're talking about just a little bit of room to breathe, and then a little bit of room for your hem allowance. So it does eat up the cloth. I'm going to get these pieces cut out, and then we're just going to run through and make a pair of slippers. I'm going to use PVA for the sole. I actually thoroughly recommend this heat resistant cloth that I use as a sort of shaky down thing for the table, because it's got slight grip on it, and well, we don't want any accidents, and even though we can't get the proper thing, we can get something similar. So fabric you need to consider, you need something with a slight grip. I'm going to use PVA, but then we have problems because I'll be sewing on the sticky side, which is a bit more difficult, and then I have two contrasting types of fleece. Now, so yes, what do I need? I need 2 soles of my feet, one for each foot, and I need them back to back when I cut them, so I've got a left and a right. I need 1 sole back to back, the same colour for the lining, and then I need this, which is my top, and I need 4 of those, 2 in each colour, both back to back, so that I've got a left and a right foot. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some stuffing in between my sole of my feet, so I'm going to enlarge this slightly so that it can come over the stuffing layer. And as I said before, I've got a basic idea of the shapes, so this means that I can then, I know when something looks right and something looks wrong, so it's a bit cheeky really. And then I can do 4 tubes, 2 slightly large, 2 slightly small, just so I can turn it over the top and have a nice zip. Alright, yeah, so that's me. I'll get them all cut out, and then I will talk you through sewing. Thank you.